No. The first question I ask is, I keep in touch with the economic, technology, and industry-related trends daily. So my big question here is, do you keep track of what's happening out there in the market, right? Or in the world on a daily basis, right? Majority of the people say occasionally, right? So it's on and off, wherever that appears. Most of the time, right? 33%. So good 1/3 of you are at least most of the time, and together with always, so about 39% of you are, quite often, right? So one thing about business acumen, if you want to know more about business acumen, you have to keep track of what's happening in the world. Okay, you have to keep track of what's happening in the world. Now, second question. Let's go down the list. Okay, what is your understanding of accounting? Okay, what's your understanding of accounting? Right, majority of the people, 89% of the people here say it's basic. Okay, only 1 out of 18 of you say it's good. So I presume that one person, if I can know who the one person is, probably would be an accountant or study accountancy before lah. Okay, right? Majority of the people is basic. Now, please understand this. We are not asking you. I mean, I'm a chartered accountant by training, but even when I do business acumen with people, I'm not asking them to understand accounting like what an accountant would do. But we must have a basic understanding of how accounting works, because like it or not, your result, it's got to be measured ultimately by sales and your profitability. Okay, your result is going to be measured ultimately by the sales and the profitability. So we need to understand how these two figures are derived, and how every single time we make a purchase, whether it is a big item like a machine or a small item like, well, some stationeries for the office, how does it affect the organization balance sheet? Whether we should even give whether we should, some organizations today, last week they were talking about minimum wage. A lot of people will go, hey, it's only 200 to 300 ringgit. Wow, you're paying this thing, you're increasing it to 1,500. What's the big deal here from 1,200 to 1,500, right? It is a big deal for certain organization. We need to learn and to determine whether this thing will actually make the organization lose money, margin-wise. Okay, now, please note, when I say this, I'm not saying I'm against the minimum wage. I'm just saying for certain organizations, the margins are very, very low, right? If you're not sure what I'm talking about when I use the word margin, please type, hey, what's this thing called margin that you're talking about? Okay, and I'll explain it a bit later, right? If you don't say anything, I assume you know. Now, third question I asked, have you ever been in a strategic planning session? Okay, in an organization strategic planning session, and this will be very specific on this. Okay, so majority of the people here, right, 50% says never, not yet, never been to one, right? So this is a good time to ask questions if you want to know what exactly happened down there. And then there is also occasionally, which is about 40%, right? Only about one person here says constantly, always in such a session. Okay, always in such a session. Now, why am I asking this question? For those of you who say not yet, so does this mean it doesn't apply to me? Please, it's not about that. It's not about that. Trust me, okay? If your business acumen is no good, that means you don't understand business acumen, right? Going into the strategic planning session, it's going to be a total waste of time for you, right? And after a while, the rest of people there may not even want to listen to what you say, is because very quickly it is figured out who actually understands the business and who doesn't understand the business in the strategic planning session. I myself have facilitated, for my organization, of course, we do it, right, all the time, is that I've also facilitated for a few large organizations, right? And trust me, when you facilitate for large organization, ultimately, I usually work a lot with the C-level when this happens. That means either the CFO, the COO, the CEO, or a combination of all 2 or 3 of them, right? And I am always halfway through, sometimes throughout the day, or even through the 2-3 day event, right? Someone will come up to me quite early, usually within the first day, and ask and tell me, hey, Jeremy, and this is usually a C-level, what do you think of that person there? literally what they're asking is, how come this person doesn't know what he or she sees in context of the whole business? How come the thing that they are talking about is not relevant, right? They don't see the bigger picture. So if you have not been to a strategic planning session, let me tell you this. Your advantage of coming to this particular session is for you, right, to actually learn and go, what are some of the things I can do, should do, or how should I prepare myself before I go in? Okay, right? So please keep the questions coming if there are any questions related to that particular area. It's a good thing. Now, if you have been to many, right? You have been to many. Well, there's really this one, right? Because of the very secret things that they do in this organization, I won't give out name, they did not give me a brief. They refused to give me a brief, right? They told me, they say, Jeremy, you know more or less what we do because you have done a few trainings with us previously. I said, yes, I know, but I don't really know exactly fully what you guys do. It's because your organization is so complicated. They said, don't worry, just go with the flow. So trust me, there were multiple times in the room. I literally had to tell people in the room, right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm sorry, but I'm totally lost here. I don't understand what exactly you're getting at, and I don't understand the business that you are looking into at this point of time, right? And this is coming from the facilitator who was doing this, right? And they all laugh. It's because they knew their business was complicated, right? And if you're not from that particular specific thing in there, you're not supposed to know exactly what they do. That's how secretive that organization is in a lot of things that they do. Now, I reckon I did a good job of it. Is because they called me back about 1 month later to do something. They also called me back a year later to relook at what we covered the year before. Okay, then after that the pandemic hit. Right. So, so it's okay to say I don't know. Right? It's okay to say I don't know. Right? No matter how good you are in any business, trust me, there's always a lot of things that are new when you go to and see another business. Okay, another business. Now, let's move. Right. Lastly, okay, I asked this question, how I interact at work, okay? Mainly I want to ask something here is, do you interact mainly with the people within your department, or you only interact with those who are related to your department? That means, if you are in finance, probably you are talking to a few people in support team and, the relevant individual, the rest, no, right? Or you are in sales and you only talk to marketing and the rest, you don't even care, right? So, how do you interact? With it within your own department or with although the related ones only, right? Only a handful, 5 out of the 18 said that they interact with many people in other departments and they constantly interact with others in their department. Now, quick question. The main aim here I'm trying to establish is this: how many of you actually have the opportunity or go around to other departments? Right? It is good to go and see what other departments are doing. It's good to see what other departments are doing. Like it or not, I really appreciate one of the first job this is probably the third job I went into when I joined an internal audit team of this large organization. And this just allowed me to go to a lot of different departments, a lot of different functions, right? To see exactly how this whole organization operates, okay? So key thing here, even if it's not work related, get to know people in other departments. This is what business acumen is all about. It's about getting to know how the business works. Okay, how the business works. Now, before we go into the details of that, right? What I want to do is this, okay? Right? In the type, just type out, what is business acumen to you? Okay, right? What is business acumen to you? Right, so that everyone can see. Right. The person who is 57 NC digitalized work management. Hi, can I know your name? Because I can't see your name on the screen. Hi,
Sorry.
Rick, is it?
Sorry, my name is Rick. Yeah. Sorry.
Rick. Hi,
yeah.
Rick. Right. Well, since you're on, why don't I just ask you, what is as the rest of them are typing? Why don't I just ask you, what is business management for you?
Business management
Sorry. What is business acumen for you? Sorry.
Okay, business acumen is a new thing for me. I'm not really understand what is it, but it's, yeah, I want to learn more.
Have you heard of it before?
No,
You've
I
never
think
heard?
I think something related to how to make decision in business, right?
That will be, yes. I mean, but this business acumen is the thing before that, lah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, it's a thing before that, right? Because
Okay.
once you understand business I mean, let me put it this way. Everyone here, we know how to make business decision, but whether the business decision is suitable or not, rest of the organization or to upper management depend on your business acumen. You get making a decision is, hey, left or right. I'm making a decision, but if left or right, that's the point. We'll go, hey, left correct or right correct. Huh? So which one is which? Which one is correct? That depends on your business acumen, right? It's just like what I put it? Okay, one of the workshops I do is strategic business acumen and strategic thinking. Then people actually ask me, Jeremy, don't you do strategic planning? I said, let's be very clear about this. Do you know the difference between strategic thinking and strategic planning? Then people go, same one. I said, no, it's not the same. The problem is this. A lot of people teach strategic planning. I can do strategic planning with you, okay? But the key thing is this. If the person doesn't have strategic thinking abilities or the ability is weak, how to even plan? So what people do is, if their thinking ability is weak, strategic thinking ability is weak, they just go and take whatever they did in 2019, 2020, they look at it and they come back with the same old strategies for 2022, which is a brand new era. And then they go, hey, same one. The plan looks the same. Of course it looks the same because everyone did planning without the thinking. You get me? So the business acumen is actually a core thing behind that most of us will need to learn, right? But the problem is, and I'm just gonna be fair with everybody. Please, don't shoot me time because business is complicated. That's why even today, when you read any business acumen book, it's like they throw to you 10,000 things, and you're like, where do I start? That's the thing. Where do you start? You just start everywhere. And hopefully, on the journey, we will put in the gaps. You get me? You know a little bit of it, and then you just put the gaps in. Sometimes we align the gaps wrongly. Okay, the spaces all wrong. Sometimes we align it correctly, which is why sometimes we fail. We don't understand and we go, I don't think I'm doing this or thinking through this correctly. Well, it's a lot of trial and error, I must admit, but there are certain things that we can do to improve on our business acumen. Right? All of you would like to learn it? If you like to learn it, just say yes. Right? Type it out in the group chat, say yes. Okay. Yes. Group chat, type it out. Good. All right. Yep. All right. Okay. So we've got people just going through the chat group. I've got people say understand business. Hafida says understand business and its goals and vision and embrace them. Right? True. Right? But one of the key things about business acumen is also understanding when the goals and the vision may no longer be applicable. When the goals and vision may no longer be applicable. Well, that means we need to change the goals and the vision. Okay, right? And hey, it happens. It happens quite often. I've actually worked with organizations that had to change it. Now, Susana says knowledge on business jargon and ability to do strategy. Yes, okay. Please, jargons are gonna be there. Right? I mean, let's be honest. Anytime we don't understand something, or a big bombastic word is used, we just call it jargon, right? So even I sometimes go, these people like to use a lot of jargons, wonder whether they understand or not, okay? And the ability to do strategic thinking and decision. Yes, when you go and do business acumen, the strategic thinking ability will in general improve, okay? In general improve, right? Great. Or vice versa, it works either way, yeah? Okay. Lee, when people come to issue or crisis, people may push the decision making at business, the business call. Yeah, they do. It's a business call, it's a business call. But the key thing here is this. Would you not like your CEO sometimes to just tell you why you make that decision? Why of all the options available to us now, you go and make that decision? Sometimes, okay, some people will say instinctive, but it doesn't help a lot, right? Instinct tells me it doesn't help a lot. What you really want is some facts, some knowledge, or at least, hey, some structure to why they chose option C rather than option A, B, or even D. Agree? You would love to know the thought process behind it, right? What are they seeing that we are not seeing? And that, I think, is critical. So for those of you who want to become your own business owner, right, in the longer run, or you are looking at moving high up the hierarchy, it doesn't mean the organization needs to be very big, but it comes to a point of time whereby you need to make decisions, business decision, okay, right? Or you need to make that critical decision whether department A go or department B go. That means either department, one of the two departments will not be doing it. Which one to do it? That is what I mean. You need to make that kind of decision. Your business acumen better be there. Your business acumen better be there. Now, one of the key things about making decisions when you have good business acumen, okay, is this. Please, right? Business acumen can be very factual based. What you want to do is also have some empathy in there to make that when you make that decision. Okay. Yes, business can be based on this fact, this fact, this fact, this thing happening, this relationship I have. But remember, have some empathy when you make that decision. Okay, have some empathy when you make that decision. So let's move forward a little bit. Right, let's move forward. On, give me a second here. Okay. Okay. Right. So, right, what is business acumen? Business acumen is about having superior, right, business literacy. That means you understand the business, right, to make good decisions. Very simple. Okay, I'm simplifying the whole entire definition of it. Okay, I'm simplifying the definition of it. There is more to it, but basically, end of the day, what are we referring to? We are talking about, hey, understanding how the business works, so that acumen, the word acumen means being able to make a decision. So business acumen means understanding how the business works to make a good decision. And I always say this, for that point of time. A lot of people will come and say, hey, you make that decision, but now it's wrong. But sometimes we say, at that point of time, we need to make a decision. 3-4 years later, now, a lot of things have happened. A lot of things have happened. When the CEOs made decision in March, April 2020, they were making it under highly stressful condition where everyone was sitting at home and they were wondering what businesses is going to collapse. Compared to today, 2 years later, okay, they are now making a decision based on the government says the economy is going to open, the economy is going to open, the economy is going to open, right? Meaning we are opening our doors, so I'm going to make a business decision based on we are opening the doors. So this is something that we need to understand, okay? It is 2 different periods of time. So business acumen is having the business literacy. That means knowing your business to make great decisions or good decisions for that period of time. Okay, it may change. It may change due to new information coming in. Now, okay, so let's talk about this big picture here. Some of you have seen it before, right? Some of you may not have seen this, but let's talk about the. I'm just using this to let people see what it's all about. Okay, what business acumen all about, and it is about a few. But look at this first. Okay, now, everyone, when you are a fisherman, what happens? Fishing all the time. Yes or no? Every day also you go out fishing. Yes? No? Anyone? Fish before? I mean, let's put it this way lah. Even if you want to go on a boat trip to an island, okay? If it starts raining heavily in the morning before you're about to go, and you know this is a leisure trip, what's the likelihood of you going? You will say probably not, no? Right? Some of you may even check the weather forecast the night before. You get me? Because you know if the weather is bad, that means it's raining heavily, the winds are high, there's high likelihood the sea water, the sea itself is going to be very choppy. Agree? Right? It's normal. Now, in business, it's the same thing. There's also the boat. We look at the boat and we go, hey, when we get, even though everything is good, the sea is good, the weather is good, we get there to the jetty, we look at the boat, we go, safe, can get on, right? Can get on. Then some of you, expert fishermen, okay, or fisherwoman, you would ask, hey, you may bring your own equipment. If you don't have your own equipment, you will get, and look at the captain's equipment and go, hey, captain, what kind of equipment you have? Because different equipment will give you different types of fish. You get me? Right? Different equipment will get you different types of fish. And whatever fish that you want will depend on the bait that you put. Right? You cannot expect to catch big fish with tiny little baits. You want big fish with big bait. Okay? So all these are part and parcel of the big picture of any business. Last but not least, you will also look at the fisherman and go, hey, can I trust this fisherman? This captain here, what he or she is doing. All these is part and parcel of how a business is run. Everyone with me so far? Ken? Right, just giving an analogy, yeah? Okay, now, let me put a few things in, okay? Let me go to the next slide and just put a few things in that you've got a better picture of what I'm getting at down here, right? The weather that you see, whether it's rainy, sunny, thunderstorm, high wind, if you want to throw the occasional earthquake tremor for us in Malaysia, right? Even though we don't get it, hey, that's the environment that you are functioning in, okay? The sea is like the market that you're in, the specific market that you are in, right? The specific market that you are in. The market can sometimes be good in certain parts, but may not be good in certain parts. You get me? So certain industries are bad. You get me? Like everyone remembers the run on the glove 2 years back, right? Everyone who invested in glove, all the tycoons who invested in glove, become multi-billionaire, right? Sitting down in the office, don't do anything. Also, the orders were just coming in like crazy. That's what happens. Okay, right? And today, what happened? Everything is sort of quiet down, right? And always understand the weather has effects on the sea. They may be different correlation or the same correlation, depend on each industry, it functions differently. The fisherman, right? Let's put ourselves as the fisherman with our mindset. Like it or not, business acumen has a lot to do with the mindset. And why I say that is when you do the analysis of the situation, if you are a positive person, you go, yes. If you are a pessimistic person, everything is no. So who is right? Because you are just looking at the same situation, right? So if I'm a pessimistic person and Rick is a positive person, Rick will say, let's go. And Jeremy said, no. But we are looking at the same situation. We could be even on the same boat. Right? He's holding one part of the oar, I'm holding the other part of the oar, and we are arguing over whether to go or not to go. It's the mindset. And we need to understand that. So that's why I always say, when you do anything related to business acumen and you have a group of people that you can discuss this with, it's always better. Which is why you see a lot of C-level people like to ask other C-level people, hey, what you think? What you think? What you think? Not because they don't know. They want a different of opinion. And this is critical. This is critical. And when I do a lot of strategic planning session, I allow a lot of people there to argue one. Because to come up that sometimes we don't see. Why? Because everyone live in our own little world. And as as many of us say, we live in our own perception of what it should be or what it could be, and there are many differences out there. The boat is like your business model. Your business has certain rules. Some rules can be broken. Some rules can be extended. Some new rules can come in, but there are still rules. You get me? There are certain things the business will find it very difficult to do. Right? It's very difficult to move. Example, if I am a manufacturing plant, I'm invested millions into building that plant. I cannot just switch and change whatever I want in terms of machinery just because automation and digitalization comes in. It's not so easy. But if I'm in a service industry, it could be easier. I'm not saying it's easy. It could be easier for me to do it because I don't need to invest millions into the machinery. Okay, so this is something that we need to understand. The business itself, right? The rod is the operation. How well you operate. If you go fishing with only one rod, you're going to catch one fish. Correct? You go fishing with two rods, potentially you can catch two fish. You go fishing with 10 rods, potentially you can catch 10 fishes. But my question to you is, can you handle 10 rods? Can you handle 10 rods? Right? Then you go, I hire people. Your boat can have a maximum capacity only. Agree? After that, it starts sinking. Then you say, buy new boats. Great. Let's just hope all this works out. And these are things that we need to think about. Okay. Now, it also says this. Okay. How well you know how to fish with a rod. I mean, if you ask me to go fishing with a rod, trust me, you'll be lucky. I'll be lucky if I get a fish for you in an hour because I've not gone fishing in years. Okay. I've not gone fishing in years. Right. But if you go to a professional fisherman, okay, they will know exactly what bait to use, right? They will even know the conditions of the wind. They will know how far to throw the bait and how to attract certain fish. I don't. Bait. What I mean by the bait? The bait need to be suitable, and I always sometimes I use the word value proposition. Okay, because at the end of the day, you're trying to catch or manufacture a fish or get a fish which is needed by the customer. The customer wants it. If your customer don't want that fish, catching many of that fish is not going to do you any good. So your whole entire business plan just fell apart is because the end customer, who is paying, by the way, is not interested in your fish. Are we okay so far? This is how business works. Okay, right? Business end to end. What it says is this: we need to understand the environment. In certain environment, it's a good time to open something. Okay, the same thing is next. The environment itself has a what we call affects the market and the industry. Over the last 2 to 3 weeks, okay, what had been the major factor in the environment of all decision making? Anyone? Type it in. What have been the major factor in terms of the weather here? Hey, I'm not talking about the flood or the rain that we are having. The one is something local, okay? I'm saying something big out there. Anyone? Type it in, type it in. What's the big stuff that's been happening? You see it every day on the news. Anyone? Hey, type in the chat. Good, in the chat. Okay. War. Hey, don't say war lah. War lah. War. All right. How bad is it going to escalate? How bad is it going to escalate? Okay, right? How bad is it going to escalate? Personally, I see that there's a lot more things than just a war. If you read about it, there's actually a lot more things than just a war. Okay, right? Like it or not, the economic thing we are facing is right. And this will be our scenario for the next couple of years, right? War, whatever happens, if it doesn't escalate, it will come to an end. Okay, but this and China is going to take precedence for at least another 4 to 5 years, and there is going to be issues. There is going to be issues. Now, in the background of all this, we still need to run our business. Agree? Right? The water may become very choppy because already with the closing of with the so-called the endemic stage coming, right? These two countries are going to be more and more aggressive in asking everybody, small Malaysia, who are you siding? I assume most people here are Malaysian, even though based on name, I've got a feeling some of you are from overseas. So, who are you siding with? That question will be asked. Okay, and to remain neutral is not easy. It's not easy in this particular instance, unless many of us, smaller nations, can group together to remain. Why am I saying that? Very simple. Start building blocks, economic blocks around this. It will become very difficult for us to trade. Like it or not, Malaysia is one of the largest top 25 trading nations in the world. We rely on trade. Our economy of scale within Malaysia itself is way too small. Okay, we rely on trade, and we need to make sure, right, we are still being able to trade with as many people as possible. And of course, right, Rick has mentioned there is a lot of things in the domino effect of the oil and gas strike. Hey, in the next few days, the government will probably increase prices of oil. Cannot tahan anymore. Okay, it will be going up. So please be prepared. Right, before they make the announcement, go and fill up your petrol. Okay, before they make the announcement. Right now, there are a lot of times in this whole entire situation and scenario, okay, that we are looking at. We need to understand whatever we produce, is it something that the customer would want? And I want to tell you, do this for you and just let you know. Please, 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 when I talk about customer, I'm actually talking about the paying customer out there. Okay, because why? Sometimes when I do this, some people ask me, you're talking about the customer in the company, right? I say, I don't care about the customer in your company. These are internal customers. Internal customers are not paying. As a matter of fact, I ask a lot of people this question. Why do you see your team members as a customer? Or because they are different departments. From a business acumen perspective, we are one team. We are one team. We should be aligned. Okay? It is the customer that will give us major headache. It's because they, end of the day, hold the cash and they determine whether they want to pay the cash to us or not, or pay the cash to someone else. Meaning, do we make the sale? Do we make the sale? Okay. Right. Ken just mentioned to me, right? His Chichong fund seller in near his place just raised prices by 50 cents because he says Russia and Ukraine. Your Zhizhong fund just went up by 50 cents. Eat the Zhizhong fund, here we go. Makan already. But hey, guess what? It will be increasing because palm oil is increasing, right? And all this all are also increasing. And you know, how much can the government subsidize end of the day? Okay. Now, so all these are critical. So please remember, if you are talking about business acumen, we need to look at the weather, we need to look at the sea, we need to look at our boat. How's our boat doing? Can our boat accommodate more? Please do not neglect your boat because your boat or your business carries everyone. If something happened to the boat, an oil break, gone. Your machine may be working behind, but your oil is not there. How to carry the fish back to the customer? You get me? Logistics needs to be in place. People want to be paid. HR, even HR, please remember your staff need to be paid at the end of every month. The moment they are not paid, morale goes down. That's part of your business model because your business model relies a lot on people. You get me? Your business model may rely a lot on technology. So you must make sure all the technology behind there must work all the time. And this depends on everybody's ability to keep track of what's happening. Okay, the fisherman must keep track of whatever is happening. Now, looking at this, right, please remember also, whatever we do usually produce a certain outcome, a certain product. That is the fish. Please always make sure that the fish is something that the customer wants to buy. If the customer don't want to buy this fish, as I mentioned before, no point in doing whatever we are doing. Are we okay so far? Ken? So, and please note, too many a times I've seen businesses, what we call go bust, because the fisherman, what I call shock sendiri. What I mean shock sendiri is he or she did not go and ask people whether they are really interested to buy this or not, number one, and whether this and how much they are willing to pay for this. The simplest of all research is because, example, a lot of food tend to go that way. Okay, food mart tend to go that way. I like to eat that food. I assume everyone like to eat that food. I like to eat that food. My family like to eat that food because all of us got the same taste buds because we have the same mother. You get me, you know? Right? So all of us grew up with this taste bud. We assume just because our family loves the food, everyone loves the food, they go and do business on that and the business falls apart. Because why? No one likes the food. You get me? So it's a very simple thing. Please check your customer out. Who are the customers? Is it even big enough to sustain your particular business? If they cannot sustain your, are we even in that business? Okay. Now let's move a little bit more. The water, okay, the weather. Please always remember the weather affects your business, and in your part, it is crucial that you keep track of political, not only local politics, global politics. Okay, know at least roughly what's happening. Okay, especially when this politics affect the economy, trade blocks, all the trade blocks. Understand what's happening down there, because these are the key factors that affect your organization. You do not live in a silo. Remember that. Your boat cannot go. How good is it? How good the captain is if there is a typhoon out there? Get me? If there's a typhoon out there, no matter how big a boat you are going to be crazy to go out there. Because the damages to the boat is big. So understand what the weather is. Understand how the weather affects the sea. And then ask yourself, do I even want to put the boat out there today? Social issues. Okay, the big social issue of this era will be, I mean, I mentioned the political, I mentioned the economical, you know, China, India, China and US. The social, what the big social will be very big income gaps between the have and the have not will cause a lot of issues moving forward. Okay, right? And another social thing that I feel that a lot of people don't talk about and they tend to avoid is what the male and female things that's happening. What do I mean by that? Now, nothing against male, nothing against female. I'm just mentioning it. In Malaysia, 70%, nearly close to 70%, close to 65 to 70% of graduates are ladies these days. Okay, male graduates are shrinking. In about 10, 15 years time, we will see there will be some issues. Okay, socially. Other things, legal. Keep track of the legal issue because any change in legal will change the way we work. Okay, the moment, example, I'm just gonna put it there. What happens when the government says, "Hey guys, we need more Malaysian rakyat, okay, or the citizens of Malaysia or wherever you're from, we are going to increase our sales and service tax to 9%." How many of you will jump? Ask yourself that. Ask yourself that. How many of you will jump? Technology. What about technology? Okay, how technology will make something obsolete, and it is going to make a lot of things obsolete in a way. You get me? Right? Last but not least, okay, environment. The environment factors, the sustainability factors that will affect the way you look at your business, especially if your business produces a lot of byproducts or you need to buy stuff created from certain products. Okay, now, so what I'm going to ask is this, okay? What I'm going to ask is this, everyone. Business acumen, right? As far as it's concerned, as far as you're concerned, I want you to think about it this way. If there is, based on what I mentioned, how do you think it affects your business? Okay, what is certain things that come to you based on what I've mentioned that affects your business? Okay, if you can, shout it out. If you are a bit shy, write it down. Okay, right. Let's go. How does all this, what I've mentioned just now, affects your business? Anyone? Type. Okay, type. How does it affect your business? Think about this. Okay, anything that I mentioned. Now, if you're familiar with a little bit of strategic thinking process, this is the PESTO model. I'm showing up the model here, right? It's the political, economical, the economy, it's the social, it's the legal, it's the technology, it's the environment. Okay, not particularly in that order, but you call PESTL, TEL. Okay, so think about it because all these are becoming a big deal in the world today. Okay, in the world today. Ken, anyone typing anything? Just waiting for someone to say something. How does all this affect you and your, right? I'm going to narrow down this afterwards. I'm going to narrow it down afterwards by coming to something a little bit more condensed. Okay. As I mentioned, there are many parts to business acumen, which is why sometimes, right, we need to learn and get certain parts of it, consolidate it, and then we will come up with something. Okay. Let's go. Anyone? Anything? Or everyone too shy? Okay, let me ask a simpler question. Any questions? If no, just type no. Just type any. Okay? Any questions? Any questions? Type in the chat. Any questions? If there's no question, just type no. If there's yes, just type yes. All right? Just type the question. No. If you've got no question, just type no. Okay? If you've got a question, good time to ask a question. Anyone? Any questions? Got question? Ask. No question? Just type no. Then I'll move forward. Either way, I'll move forward. No. Okay. Right? Hasliza N says no. Hasliza says no. Okay. Right. Is that all? Anyone else? Ryan, are you there? Iho, are you there? Right. Henry, are you there? Right. YK, are you there? Yep. Okay. No question so far. Joanne, are you there? Ken? Right. If no, I'm going to move forward. Now, let's move from the outer side to the inner. That means the organization itself. The organization itself. Okay. Let's move from the big one that we are seeing to the organization. Because as I mentioned, we do not work in silos as the business. The business interact a lot with outside. Be aware of who your customers are. Also be aware, business acumen mean, be aware of what influences your customer. So that means if you want to understand all these things, you must also understand who your customers are and what weather conditions influence them as well. What weather condition influence them as well. Because whatever influence them will influence you, especially if your customer is a major one. Okay, if it affects them, you may need to relook at new customers, or you may need to have a different fish. Because why? They are not buying your fish anymore, and a different customer wants a different fish. You get me? Right? Now, the other parts, since I mentioned customer, you may say, okay, so now what we're going to do next is look at the internal, the organization itself. Okay, right? This is what I call understand the business and of course master the numbers. Right? Understand the business and the numbers. Now, earlier on I asked the question, okay, how many of you are familiar with accounting? Okay, and majority of you say you got basic knowledge, right? Now, this is the basic accounting question that many people sometimes ask, and I would ask also many a time when I'm running a session on this, right? Everyone, can you tell me the between cash flow and profit? Can you tell me the difference between cash flow and profit? What's the difference between cash flow and profit? Because the first thing we're going to look at is cash flow. I say cash flow is king. Second thing, number is it increase the profit, right? So do you get the difference between what is cash flow and what is profit? What's the difference between cash flow and what's the difference between cash flow and profit? Anyone? Type. If you want to say it out, just shout it out, okay? Don't be shy. Don't be shy. Think about this. What's the difference between cash flow and profit? What's the difference, right? Because we are not in a, I don't mind answering that. Okay. Anyone? What's the difference between cash flow and profit? Okay, let's go. Lee says cash flow equals holding cost of capital. Susanna means money in your account, in and out. Okay, cash flow is actual money going in and out, right? Profit equals net income. Okay, right? Hatida, congratulations. Thank you very much. Right, cash flow is the money going in and out. This is actually the money, right? Example, how much money is coming into your pocket, how much money is being removed from your pocket. That's the cash flow. You get me? That's your cash flow, right? So as an employee, hey, when do you get cash flow? Hey, end of the month. Some people get it beginning of the month, depending on when the company pays. You see what I mean? So end of the month, you get inflow of money, right? What happens then? Throughout the whole entire month, we are spending the money, right? Sometimes the worst thing is, before the money even reaches into it, It stays inside there for like 24 hours in the bank, and bam, the money disappears because it needs to go to bills. So the inflow and outflow is very quick. Cash flow is looking into this inflow and outflow. Okay. End of the day, it's also asking the big question: how much money is there? How much money is there? Whether it's in our pocket or in the bank, how much money is there? When is the money coming in? When do we need the money to be out? Or can we hold the money? For many of companies, including my own organization, when we were at the peak of the whole entire pandemic, right, in 2020, 2021, right, especially 2020, we were holding on to cash. Got money, also don't want to pay. That's managing cash flow. Got money, also don't want to pay. Why? Because if we pay, we do not know what's going to happen next. It is prudent money management. You get me? Pay only whatever is necessary. Ignore everything else. Ignore everything else. That's prudent cash flow management. Everyone okay with that so far? Right? No. So we need to know business acumen. If the money, by doing this, if the money flowing in, or by doing this, how much money will need to flow out? Because why? It's an expense. Okay? Or it's something that we need to pay for. Right? To do this, if we were going to take a bank loan, what happened? It's money flowing in. That's why the government said, hey, during the pandemic, everyone, if you need some money, go and take a bank loan. We are offering you this kind of loan at this kind of percentage. So that there's money flowing in. That's money flowing in, cash flow. Okay. What goes out? Expenses goes out. Paying back the loan is going out. So all these are going out. Profit is the net, right? As what it means is this. Income is like all the sales that you generate. Okay, all the sales that you generate, and net income is minus the expense. Minus net income. Are we okay here? Ken? Everyone clear? Always in business, so is king. Income, net income can be there, but it also sometimes means, okay? So when you give an idea or give a suggestion that generates when that suggestion also allows for good net income, people are even more happy, right? The margin of the net income or the profit, more, you get me? Provided we can collect the money fast. Okay? The money fast. So there is a time duration to this as well. Okay, which is why I want to emphasize from the 1 and 2. I'm just going to go in a little bit to the industry cycle and the business life cycle, just a short one. Every industry has a cycle. Every industry has a cycle. Understand it. Every industry has a cycle. What do I mean? If you're in the construction industry, there's a cycle. If you're in the glove industry, there is a cycle, right? Any industry has a cycle. Example, even if you are a tour agency, you have a cycle. The industry itself has a peak and a trough. There's certain months that's high, a lot of people come, there's certain months that is very slow. Even my training industry has a cycle. The cycle is over the year. But if you look at the construction industry, the cycle could be over 7 to 8 years. You get me? Right? Training industry is a year. Construction industry, 7 to 8 years. Get me? Right? Every business is also having its own business life cycle. Are you a startup? Have you matured? Are you in a growth stage? Or are you in a period of decline? You get me? Right. Example. look at all your shops, you know, in your grocery shops around your area, right? Speed Mart comes in, right? And you just build up. Especially this time, I mean, in my office itself, that day I was just going out for lunch, and suddenly noticed that the DIY was just open. Right, Mr. DIY. I said, wow, DIY open. So what happened then? DIY in that particular area, there's no DIY, so suddenly it becomes a, you know, the shop, you know, DIY sells a lot of different things. So, you know, it's kind of nice to go in and just buy something sometimes. And what happened down there is DIY just open. Right. So I'm wondering, to all the other so-called hardware stores around the area or similar stores that sell this kind of things, what happened there? Is their business life cycle brought to an early thing, or they will find ways to grow? You get me? Because why? DIY may just bring their maturity to a decline stage. Because why? They may find it difficult to compete with the prices. That's why during the pandemic, one of the key things I made myself do is, as much as possible, support the small guys, support. The big boy had economies of scale, they have the advantage, and the small people need to be supported. Okay, yes, you get me, yeah? Right? So this is what I mean. Each industry has its own life cycle. Each company has its own business life cycle. And this is something that you need to be aware. So check it out for your industry. Where do you think you are? Where do you think you are? Okay. Now, I mean, like ATCEN, we've been around, so we are in a mature stage. Okay, right? Mature stage. But if we don't do things properly, we will be in a decline stage. Right? Now, if we find that we can certain to the growth stage, we will never be a startup again. It's either growth or mature, growth or mature. So the moment you can find something that will boost it up, then you're in the growth stage again. Right? Apple did this a few times. Apple did this a few times to their own business life cycle. Right? When something is declining, they manage to latch onto something and make them grow again. When something is declining or matured, they latch onto something else and it grew again. You get me? Right? To make it the company it is today. But you need to understand your customers. You need to understand how your business works. What can your business handle? As I mentioned, can your board handle it? Or you need to get a bigger board, or right, you do it DIY style, you get multiple boards. You get multiple boards and replicate the whole process of each and every single board. That's what you do. Okay. Now, third thing, right, in this particular graph, always remember customer centricity, right? I cannot say this enough. If you don't take care of your customers, the customer is not going to be with you. End of story. So always be asking your customers what they want, because like it or not, key business acumen here is this: you can do this, and therefore it is. You must ask: who is paying? The person paying, do they want this? And do they want to continue to eat this the rest of their life? Right? Ask yourself this. Or they want some variety. You better be able to offer that change or some variety. Because if you're going to stick with one, it's going to be a problem. You get me? That's why I always tell people, if you are driving along the road and you see all the people, sometimes just use that simple example. If the whole entire street, why sometimes we see everyone selling nasi lemak, or everyone selling what you call it, pisang goreng, and like, why everyone selling the same thing? Sell something different, right? The moment people see something different, then they're like, okay, I'm going to stop for this. And by the way, yeah, this looks nice. So they will stop. Why? Because it is different. Okay, just that differentiation itself may already attract new customers. Fourth thing, velocity. What do I mean by velocity? Velocity here is improving velocity. It's improving the speed of doing things. If you notice, a lot of times CEOs or top management are always asking, can we do faster? Can we do faster? Can we be more effective, faster, more effective, faster, more effective? That's what they mean. They are trying to increase the velocity, right? Without breaking the whole business model. So how do we get the rod in there more? Okay, End of the day, some people will say, okay, we got to do trawler net and just throw the whole net inside there and build equipment that allows us to pull, right, 1 ton of fish out, provided you know where the 1 ton of fish is, okay, or you're able to produce the 1 ton of fish. So this is what we are referring to. Velocity is how fast can we move the products out. Now, keynote here, just on the side, right? Something I always mention. Understand that you do not want to be fast in all areas of your business. Can someone please give me an explanation of why I just say that? Okay, understand, you do not want to be fast in all areas of your business. You do not want to be fast in all areas of your business. Okay, anyone? Any idea why I just mentioned that? Certain parts of the business is expected to move very quickly. Certain parts of the business is a secondary position in terms of efficiency and effectiveness. You get me? Or either one. So, right, think about it. Something that is not certain yet or less priority. Well, in a way, if it's a velocity, it's going to be slower, it's a less priority already, Suzanne, right? So you're right. But think about it, in your own business, right? Think about it. Which part of the business you do not want it to move fast? Because by making it fast, it may not be good for your business. Think about it, right? Because there will be certain things, right? I used to work in finance. Like it or not, payment is always super slow one. Even when we have money. Payment is always super slow, even when we have money. You get me? Slow enough not to irritate or to get on their nerve of the vendors a little bit, but not slow enough to irritate them that they are not going to do business with us anymore. You get me? That's just one part. There are many, many other parts. We need to understand which one must move fast and which one must move slow. That's why the emphasis is push here. Around there, never enough people want. You get me? No, never enough people want. Why? Because it can be slow. You do not want to move everything moving at a high speed. Okay? Are we here? Right? No. Other things, okay? Last but not least, please remember this. Okay? All business, in business acumen, all business are about growth. We cannot say we don't want to grow. Why? Because, like it or not, the weather catches up, the sea catches up. It's something called inflation catches up. So even if you say, I don't want to grow, hey, grow your 2% a year, can or not? Or else inflation catch up. So. Because if you want to maintain all your expenses, or you better grow by 2% because the value of the money keeps dropping. It's called inflation. But of course, if you got to maintain at only 2 to 3% a year, right? Ultimately, it's also not very good. So you better have higher growth. So all business are geared for growth. Any place is geared for growth. It cannot be, I don't want to grow, I'm comfortable. By the time you know it, 5 years later, you will become very uncomfortable. You get me? So in business acumen, we are always thinking of this whole dynamics, right? Within the organization, the dynamics is this, and you must remember this. Please, there's one thing I talked about, and one thing you must do this, okay? Cash flow is king. Idea, any decision that enhances your cash flow, meaning gets you to keep, preferably money comes in, is preferred. Any idea that allows you to hold on to money is preferred. Any idea that says I need to spend money, then people go, okay, what's the margin now? What's the ROI, return on investment? In the web, they're talking about what the margin of return, right, from this particular investment. Because I need to invest, I want to know what's the ROI. All these things I'm doing help me increase my profit and my margin. If possibly, I want both. Right? Profit is X amount of money. Margin is, hey, now Because of this new thing, our profitability increased by 10%. And that's what people want. Okay, that's what the owners want, that's what all the stakeholders want, that's what all the what you call it, the not stakeholders, shareholders want. Okay. Then you ask yourself, customer centricity. Very separate thing. You need to ask, whatever I do, is the customer happy? Will the customers be happy? Right? Because ultimately they are your key source of your inflow of cash. They are the key source of your inflow of cash. Right? They are the most sustainable inflow of cash. Then, how fast do I want to move the velocity? Last but not least, we must always look for growth. We must always look for growth, which is why you see businesses don't stop. Now, so any questions, right? Questions, a lot, as I said, I'm giving you a lot in 90 minutes, okay? Even though just a few slides, I only got about 2 more slides to go, okay? Right. Any questions? Any questions? If you have a question, time to type something down, right? If you got no question, just put no, okay? Don't be shy. Don't be shy. And right, are we okay? Ken? Let me get a call drink. Okay, right, not seeing anything, huh? Not sure whether you're still with me or not. Okay, now, I'm just gonna go through this very quickly, right? By saying, if you want to know a bit more, right, about your business internal and all these key things that are important to you, go Google up Business Canvas. Go Google up Business Canvas. It will always let you have a look to who your key partners are, your key activities are, and what are your key resources. Key resources are, what are the things you need to sincerely always improve on. If you are in manufacturing, of course, one of your key things is the manufacturing line. If you're logistic, your business is logistic, your thing is logistic area. You get me? So what does your customer want? How do you build better customer relationship? What kind of channel that they do, and what kind of segments? Okay. Now, please Google it up. It's a lot of stuff online already. I don't want to go through this, but key thing here is also, if you look at the business canvas, right, the bottom part, it tells you what's your cost structure. So it's asking you, what do you spend money on? Okay. And last but not least, where do you get your money? Where do you get your money? What's your income revenue stream that you have? So it's very critical to just look at this, right? And to understand how your business is working, because it goes through the whole entire thing of your customers, who I need to protect, right? In terms of my vendors, what are the key resources I have within my organization that I need to continuously, consistently improve? And last but not least, what kind of cost structure am I looking at, and what kind of revenue streams am I looking at? So, right, go online, right? You can even go on YouTube, type in business canvas, right? And there are lots of videos online that will show you how to do a simple business canvas for yourself, right? And if you're running your own business, this is a fantastic way of just looking to it and going, okay, this is something that can work. And I'm going to give you my number at the end. So if you've got anything, you want to just chit chat with me a little bit more, maybe even in the coming days after you've gone through the business canvas, right? And just share some thoughts with me. No problem. Just give me a call and I will, WhatsApp me and I will respond to you. Okay. Now, because I'm always interested in other people's business anyway. Right? Kaypo a bit, right? So, other thing, one last thing. If there's anything that I've covered, okay, always in terms of business acumen, look at the big picture. Business acumen is not operational. It is the big picture, because you need to know how the business works end to end and how other factors affect the key overview things that I just want to leave with you. Number one, big picture thinking. Anything that happens in the world, please understand the cause and appreciate the effect. Right? You don't need to like it, but you need to appreciate that there will be an effect. Okay, like the war in Russia and Ukraine is affecting us. If this continues, it will continue to affect us. You get me? right? There are implications here. There are lots of implications here, right? Chicken prices will go up because Ukraine and Russia are the third and fourth largest producers of all this, especially Ukraine, all this chicken feed. So we need to find where to get more chicken feed so the chicken can eat, right? So big corn production is affected. Oil production is now affected, right? And you will see a lot of other things. Please take note. Sanctions are on Russia, but the sanctions are also very hard hitting on a lot of other countries. Just because people are saying, hey, cut with Russia, right? Guess what? Some companies are taking in big losses by just cutting operations there. And ultimately, if we say, hey, not Malaysian company, it will have a flow back effect to us. Okay, so big picture thinking, because all this affects our business here, right? No business is an island. I have never seen a business that goes, I don't need to depend on anybody. I don't care about anybody else. I just do what I do. Why? Because ultimately, we are all affected by something called customer. Does the customer want to buy? No business is selling to themselves. You get me? Ultimately, you need to sell outside to someone. And that someone is affected by the thing. Third thing, understand everything in your business, especially the interconnect. How one part of the one department decision affects another department, affects another department, affects another department. The more we see the interconnectivity, the interrelatedness, the better our business acumen become. You get me? Right? Please, simplest thing. If you work in a pretty large organization, you have a lot of reports and memos. Read the reports and memos that lands on your table. Understand it. Ask the questions. Okay, right? Go and yum cha, or have a drink, or chit chat with other people from other departments. Get to know them. You will find that your understanding of how the organization works increases, and when you get up to that position, right, later on, or you are moved to another division, you at least understand a lot better what you're getting yourself into. Because this is not something that you can learn overnight. It takes time, it takes experience, and also it takes errors. Okay, know your numbers. What drives profitability? What drives the cash flow? Where does the cash come from? Where's the profitability coming from? Which segment, which sector? Know it. Okay. Number 5, decide and act for the organization. This is the decision-making part. Good decision-making is about acting or doing what is good on behalf of the organization. Not necessarily the department, not necessarily the team that you have, and not necessarily the me. You get me? Right? Because it is so easy sometimes to make a decision that benefits me, but it doesn't benefit anyone else. It's so easy to do that. It's the hard thing to do when I know by making a decision like this, I don't get any benefit. But the team as a whole, or the organization as a whole, gets the benefit. That is what leadership is all about. Okay. Last but not least, agile management. What do you mean by agile management? Don't be fixated on one way of doing things. Business acumen needs you to be very agile. The situation out there is constantly changing. You get me? Example, touch wood. If for some reason nuclear war breaks out in Europe, right? Touch wood, no one wants it to happen. But if for some reason, right, it happened in Europe, trust me, a lot of companies will be pulling out, stopping flow. Money is there, no one wants to go, right? You are at the airport also, you say bye-bye, I'm going to sit down and go home. You get me? Right? If nuclear war happens in Europe, are you going to fly to Europe just because you still got an air ticket to Paris, or you want to see the Eiffel Tower, or you want to see the Big Ben? Trust me, not worth it. Okay? Since you make a decision that's not worth it, don't you think businesses will also all pull out? So that's what happens, right? So this is something that we need to be very agile. As the world becomes more and more volatile, right? The word we use is VUCA, right? Volatile, uncertain, complex, and also ambiguous. We need to be very agile. Agility is one way of meeting it, right? So this is something that is very critical. So if you have gotten anything, 6 key things here, right? Not 5, 6 key things here. Please remember, always look at the big picture. So when you're in a discussion with your bosses, and your boss says something, right, or your chairman says something, look at the big picture. Don't look at it from, oh, my department, my team. No, look at the big picture. Second thing is, remember this, okay? Know the interdependencies of the business. What is the business dependent on? What is the business dependent on? Which vendors are we dependent on? Which supply are we dependent on? We must understand this, okay? Then we must understand everything about the business. Everything there is about the business as much as you can. So get that knowledge, talk to people, whatever. If you're not good with accounting, you have never read a financial statement before, go. There's lots of stuff online that allows you to teach you how to look at a financial statement, right? How to look at the financial statement. Please look at it. At least you know how well you're. Hey, if you want to know how well your organization you're doing, you don't need to say, I'm an organization, private entity. I don't know how well you're doing. Every private entities and then Berhad needs to give a report to our registrar of company. I will see every single year. You can get access to that for 15 ringgit. Okay, right? Or 20 ringgit. I can't remember where it's 15 or 20. Decide and act on behalf of the, remember, all decision, behalf of the organization. That's when you start organizational business acumen, decision making. You think on behalf of the organization, not on behalf of your department. And last but not least, be agile on everything. Okay, but be agile. Main thing is, if you need to a U-turn, stand and be able to explain to people clearly why that U-turn needs to happen, what factor. And as I mentioned, have a heart in everything that we do. Have a heart in everything that we do. Okay. Now,